Well, hey everyone, Coach Gary and Mike Aloni here. I'd like to give you a taste of a new column of mine that's coming out September 2020 in Masonry Magazine. It's called Losing Your Feathers, subtitled Every Eagle Has to Molt. It's kind of a reflection on what's going on in today's world. So, the national symbol of the USA is the bald eagle, and I can't imagine it being anything else. What a great choice that was back about 1782 or so when it was officially adopted by Congress and in 1987. As a symbol, its use dates back to Roman times, if not before, because people instantly and instinctively recognize it as portraying strength and ability and speed. For those same reasons, many businesses incorporate eagles into their logos and into their signage, and you name it. Admittedly, I enjoy seeing businesses display a little bit of patriotism, but I really hate it when their work is less than the best. It's shoddy or amateurish. You know what I'm talking about. To most Americans, eagles, flags, a great economy, a force for good around the world, all that is important, and we expect that. Heck, we demand that. It is the stuff of eagles. Yet, in the days of summer 2020, if you judge based upon what's being portrayed in mainstream media, you might question whether our country, community, or industry still believe in the same stuff of eagles. It's critically important to remind everyone of the essential part the American eagle plays, despite desperate attempts to deny it and to even ridicule it. The images we've all seen, whether they be simply photos on a website or a poster, or of living birds flying high and free, they always look gorgeous, don't they? All that plumage, the golden beak, the crown of white about the head. Wow, right? But they do not look that way all the time. Every eagle goes through a time of molting, of losing feathers and replacing them. Now, I am told that the eagle has some 7,000 feathers, so God apparently designed the eagle to only lose and replace feathers a few at a time. Otherwise, the eagle would be defenseless and unable to care for itself. Well, what I'm saying is that when you take a very close look at the eagle, you can simultaneously see both its imperfections and its ability to overcome those same imperfections. Like when it swoops out of the sky and it dives down toward a body of water and seizes its prey in its mighty talons. So let's set the record straight and review our history and our heritage by looking at a few examples we all know, let alone the importance of local eagles in our own lives. How many eagles do you know? To how many people are you or your business seen as an eagle? Because eagles are creatures of flight, it's been natural, I suppose, to equate great moments in flying to eagle-like status, as well as those exploits of mere ground pounders such as you and I might be. Well, eagles make things happen. How else can you explain going from the Wright brothers' first flight in 1903 of 120 feet, lasting a mere 12 seconds, to Charles Lindbergh in 1927 with the first solo, non-stop crossing of the Atlantic in 33 and a half hours, and that was only a short 24 years later. Lindbergh was nicknamed the Lone Eagle. Lone, because it was a solo flight. Eagle, because of how daring it was. To say that Lindbergh had a goal and a passion to accomplish it is a huge understatement, but he wanted it badly enough to risk everything in its accomplishment. JFK wasn't a pilot, but he was still an eagle, a visionary, who challenged the U.S. to land a man on the moon and safely return him before the end of the decade. And he issued the challenge on May 21st of 1961, just a few months after taking office. And he set the target a ridiculously close 8 years out. Lest we forget, the USA was behind the old Soviet Union at the time of the space race, in the middle of a Cold War. And the president recognized that America needed a huge goal to lift its people. A Gallup poll at the time showed 58% of Americans were opposed. Kennedy remained undeterred. You know, I'm not even a Democrat, but I appreciate this eagle. The Apollo moon program almost ended before it really got started. America lost its first eagle, actually 3 of them, January 27th, 1967. A fire broke out in the capsule, and we lost Gus Grissom, Ed White, and Roger Chaffee. The eagle molted, and America lost 3 of its tail feathers that day. The program was suspended for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. The program was suspended for 20 months. The problems were solved and then resumed. And as I write this in July of 2020, we are reminded of the 51st anniversary of man's first landing and walking on the moon. Astronauts and pilots are the quintessential eagles, aren't they? April 11th, 1970, April 13th launched, and that mission almost cost the American eagle 3 more feathers. Miraculously, the bird seemed to have preened itself, saved the feathers, and the crew landed safely, with the eagles Jim Lovell, Jack Swigert, and Fred House returning safely to Earth. And no, Tom Hanks was not aboard. The shuttle program came along in April of 1981, and we had incredible goals and dozens of successful flights. But sometimes things go terribly wrong, don't they? And that happened. The goal of spaceflight was still alive. The space shuttle came along in April of 1981, and we had incredible goals and dozens of successful flights. But sometimes things go terribly wrong. January 28, 1986, with all America and millions of school children watching, Challenger exploded 1 minute and 13 seconds into the flight. America grieved the loss of these 7 eagles, one of whom was a teacher. Feathers fluttered to the ground. The next flight was delayed by 2.5 years while we figured out what went wrong. The goal of spaceflight was still alive, and leadership righted the program. It was figured out and resumed in September of 1988 with a string of 87 successful launches, which we really got used to having. Shuttle Columbia launched January 16, 2003, but crashed on re-entering the atmosphere 16 days later. 7 eagles perished high above Earth. What do we know about eagles, and how does that help us in our businesses? Consider the profile of an eagle. It's solitary, yet monogamous. It's always in the process of renewal. It makes an impact on others, usually many others. What do you think? Does it look a lot like you? A creature bent on renewal will never give up. I want you to consider Elon Musk, definitely an eagle. In this same period of summer when we celebrated the 51st anniversary of man's first arrival on the moon, we marked the 9th anniversary of the final shuttle landing, July 21st. And Elon and his team were hard at work. And I have to tell you, April 11th, 2019, while watching fellow employees on a large monitor at work, I jumped up and down and high-fived everyone while watching 2 rockets of his touch down simultaneously, tail first and side by side, like some kind of a science fiction movie from a zillion years ago. SpaceX had a huge goal, and they've pulled it off. May 30th, SpaceX became the first private company to launch a U.S. astronaut into space from a U.S. launch site. August 2nd, right on schedule, NASA astronauts Bob Bankston and Doug Hurley returned safely. The name of their spaceship, fittingly, it is Endeavour. World, America here, another eagle has landed. Did you know that Elon Musk began his business life with a startup company called Zip2, which he sold to Compaq Computers. And then he founded a company named X in 1999. That later became PayPal, and then used those funds to start SpaceX in 2002 and Tesla Motors in 2003. Yikes! Team, to sum this all up, the perception of America, what happens to America, where America is going, it all depends upon you. Same for your business. Here's the question: down or up? Are things going to get you down, or are you going to make them fire you up? Are you going to let things get you down, or are you allowing them to fire you up? There's an old story about a person who wanted to see a public work of art, and he drove up next to the building where it was displayed on a wall. And he sat in his car close to the wall, wanting to see what he had heard was a mural with exquisite detail. Well, instead, he was so disappointed, even though he was parked close to this ghastly mural. Ugly, ugly, ugly! Kind of like today's headlines. Yet, just as he was about to lose heart and to leave the area, he decided instead to back his car up a little, step outside, take a fresh look. He'd driven long to get there, and his windshield was covered with smashed bugs and debris. Plus, he was way, way too close. Well, once outside of his car, away from the color distorting prism of the windshield, free of the debris clouding his vision, he could see the whole work. And what he saw was spectacularly beautiful. All aspects of America molt occasionally. Judge the eagle by the way it works, the places it goes, the people it inspires, the communities and countries it protects from predators and other bullies. You can hear that bird as it calls out in its mission to care for its own. It is not afraid to speak. It is not afraid to act. It is not ashamed of its molting feathers. It is, after all, an eagle. I'm Coach Gary.